Thank you.
Hello.
We weren't doing any.
That's me.
I am.
Google Glasses.
I think wearing Google Glasses would be very
My webinar's
distracting.
gone.
Oh, thank you.
Like, I don't know what, when I go to webinars, it's not there anymore. I have to read it, so, or maybe you can only do it once.
You had access to something I couldn't have access to.
Yeah. I don't know.
You might already, you're in.
Look at that. Man, I am fancy.
I left mine at home with my husband and I said, now call the daughter because grandson was very upset that she didn't get home.
So I won't need to like sign in or put in a password, or is that the password for?
Wow. We may be using
And then.
the projection
No
screen
changes.
again. Not right now. I don't want the light in your eyes like.
Yeah.
Just give me a little bit.
Wireless public wireless access.
I love the idea that there's no meetings on Saturday. That's great. Looking awesome.
Yeah.
Well, is it great or not?
Okay.
It's good for me, something for Saturday.
It's good for me too. I don't know if it's good.
It might not be a good.
I don't know if
it's good for me.
Hannaford.
Yes, I think so. It looks like it's going. Thank you.
All right, board. We are 2 minutes late.
I was here, I'm not doing.
I know, you were on time.
Hey, hi.
I gotta make sure I sign these contracts and don't mess them up with something else. Okay, Rooney, are you all set, or? Okay. I'd like to call the board meeting of the Patricia A. Hannaford Career Regional Technical Center to order. It's 5:02 p.m. May I have a motion, whoops, sorry, skipping already. Introduction of board members, I'll start with Nick.
Nick Colston, representing ACSD, living in Shore.
Kim Farnham from New Haven and representing my neighborhood school district as community enlargement.
Hi, Christina Macklin, representing Addison Northwest School District.
Steve Orzek, representing ACSD.
Steve Rooney, representing NAUSD.
Markowski, resident of Bridgeport and with member.
Hello, Tiffany Love, representing workforce development.
Dan from ACSD, and then our administrator.
Thank you.
That's Assistant Director, Patricia Hannaford Career Center.
Linda?
Linda Barrett, so
Lisa?
Hi, everyone. Lisa Rader, teacher of visual communications and design illustration.
Thank you. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any changes that we need to make? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the agenda as printed, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's passed. Lisa, you are our visitor. Do you have any comments or?
I don't. Thank you for asking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Do we have anybody online?
We don't
No,
have
there's not a link to join online.
because we're doing everything personal.
Okay, thank you. Dana, correspondence, donation?
Yes, take it up under the action discussion, but we have donations totaling $10,500 to the Cloud Scholarship Fund. So I'll talk a little bit more about that under the action section.
Great, thank you.
Go.
Consent agenda, we have minutes of April 9th, April 14th, and the ones from May 5th came in this afternoon. I have not had to read the May 5th ones, but are they Are there any issues with any of them? Okay. Sounds like they're all right. Nick, can you do the accounts payroll, please?
Yep. So building and equipment reserve $467.88. General fund, these are all for April, I guess.
Well,
Yes,
from April.
April, yes, for April. General fund, $123,653.84. Revolving fund, $15,915.60. Student activities, $882.13. Nothing for the makery. Payroll, the first payroll was for $85,630.26. And then there was another one, April 15th, for $49,039.74. And a third one for April 22nd for $38,937.49. That's it.
Thank you. Moving on to our action agenda. The first item is the donation.
Yes. So we have a couple of respectfully request to remain anonymous, but they would like to make donations totaling $10,500 to the Claflin Family Scholarship Fund. That's a scholarship fund that already exists and benefits students from Virginia who attend the Career Center. And the donors would like you to consider that to be entered into the fund.
Generous.
It's very generous. And you said they wanted to say anonymous.
They wanted to remain anonymous, yeah.
But,
We will send them.
okay, I was gonna say, but
There
someone
are-
knows so that we can send them. a
Yes,
thank you.
there are two of us, I believe, who actually know who they are because we have to be able to record that.
Right,
So they will receive a note of gratitude from us.
Great.
That we appreciate their generous donations.
thank you.
And a document so they can write it off.
Yes.
The donation.
That we all, that's one of the reasons why we have to notify somebody. I mean, we have to have, you can't accept a donation if there's not a check or a transfer from some bank account, so that would immediately identify them. But when people do ask to do remain anonymous, only two of us, usually the business manager and myself. But in this case, it is, well, there are three of us, because Bill Vanderwert was approached, and then Shane Keene and myself also. Nobody.
Great. May I have a motion to accept the donation of $10,500 to the Claflin Family Scholarship Fund?
Donations,
Donations, okay, sorry, donations up totaling.
total $10,500.
I'll send it.
Been moved by Tiffany and seconded by Judge to accept the donations, totaling $10,500 to the Claflin Family Scholarship Fund. Is there any further discussion? Please say aye.
Right.
Any motions passed? Owner representative.
Yes, so you should have, and I do have a couple of extra copies, should you need them. You should have copies of VIS construction consultants and capital project consultants. Capital project consultants you received last week, and that was updated based on some feedback from us that you had presented to me at the last board meeting. I passed that along. They incorporated them, I think, satisfactorily, and we proposal from VS. If you need a copy, I do have a couple. Look at one of those if you want access to your device, let me know. And entertain any discussion that you have about either of those. I have submitted it I have submitted one for legal review. I do not believe that I have received an opinion back on that. I was only able to get that out 2 days ago, I think. That was on the proposed capital project consultant, just for legal review. But at this point in time, you have two. You can let me know what your pleasure is and how to proceed here. If you are ready to accept one, do that. Otherwise, Steve.
So I did get a VIS proposal. It looks like they sort of overinterpreted the scope of what they're actually supposed to be doing.
They did. I got a call at about 3:45 to ask for some clarification, and they did.
I think they thought we were at a much earlier stage in the process.
They thought that originally. I don't know. I've had conversations with 3 different people at VIS, and I think that part of the translation was lost in each of those conversations. They did overestimate the scope because they told me how.
In the description of what they were proposing to do, we had gotten kind of a concept plan from somebody, and they were expecting we were just beginning to do construction drawings, and you can tell from the schedule, you guys are ready to go. You're ready to break ground.
Exactly right. And I did clarify that, but I didn't have an opportunity to do that until, that was one of the later documents that came in at about 7:30 this morning, and that's when I sent everything out to board members. He then called me at 9. I was in the middle of something. I said we could chat at the end of the day, and we connected at about 3:45. And he said, well, it really seems like if you're looking for a budget that would take out a significant component, because you don't have to do all of the first paragraph of the first pre-construction. It's already taken care of. And he said, it sounds like you really don't need both project management and clerk of the works, but probably just clerk of the works. And I said, that's really what the board was looking for.
Enhanced clerk of the works.
Enhanced, yes, and he understood that. He said he could get us another proposal, but as a ballpark for consideration, he said take approximately 15 to 20 hours a week times 65 weeks times $85 an hour.
Sort of in between
his
number and his.
Right, because his project manager is about $100 an hour. And 75 for the clerk of the works. So he said right in the range there, because some of it would be PM, some of it would be clerk of the works. And he said that would give you a year. And I calculated it in my head, it was somewhere in the $65,000 range.
Okay, so that kind of put him more in the ballpark of where Marty was at.
But
So you said 2 hours.
I said 15 to 20, that's what 15 to 20 hours a week times 65 weeks, because that would take
5 hours times, you said 85?
85.
To 875.
Okay. So
And 5 weeks assumes it's continuous.
yes, and he did say that with that, there are assumptions that if you need that. Now, we would need that. I mean, you need some probably, because there'll be construction going on. But the big portion of time would be from probably the start end of June through end of October. Then lighter work between October and April, May, and then they ramp up again for the final summer push and then final things. So
And they've assumed that it would be the same load all the way through the 65.
Or
he
that
said
it
he
would
would have
average
to, he
out.
said he another proposal based upon specifics.
I think Marty kind of took the time to sort of figure out how many actual total hours he was gonna do.
Right.
And I think they would need an opportunity to do the same thing. I don't know how much time we have to wait, to bring this person on. I don't understand the timeline yet in terms of what, are we meeting tomorrow or we have another,
It's difficult to say, except that we just got the timeline. We'll be talking about that later in the agenda. That timeline tells us when we need to have things starting to ramp up, which is about mid-June. So if you're looking to make an informed decision, you might have until we meet on the 26th. I don't want to be the one telling you what to do. I think that you might have a little bit more wiggle room if you have more questions that can be answered tonight. I would say that we might be able to do that. Jen?
The position that we heard about last 2 weeks for the 49,500, is that?
That was last week.
And, right, oh yeah, because we moved that. So that's the comparable position. So this is slightly more, but they haven't really parsed out exactly how many hours. They're just giving an idea.
We had a pretty good idea of what the number of hours.
So if we call that 50,000, so, and this is somewhere in the 80, is it possible that with those slow times, there's $30,000 worth of difference there, or is it just that these guys are?
it didn't sound to me, it sounded to me like a 345 off the top of their head budget discussion without them actually.
He said that you can usually calculate between 1 and 1.5% on the total cost of your project. So you take so that's between 80 and 120,000. So that 82 or 85 or whatever your calculation. Once again, I was driving and had to do mental math. So he said that it was based on the total cost of the project, indicating the complexity of the project. So his proposal of 80 and 120 with that calculation is within that ballpark.
Yeah, the question is whether we just want to give them another shot
Yeah,
with
do we
with
wait
a
2
little
more
better
weeks and give
understanding
them
of
another?
a little better understanding of the schedule. I mean, I don't know, for instance, I'm assuming that EEI has provided sort of a more detailed project schedule at this point.
Yes, we got it tonight, and we're going to hand those out in just a minute.
I mean,
I think that's it. Yeah.
right, so, if, for instance, if this was handed to VIS and they understood, like you said before, bulk of the work is in the summers, there's less work in the school year.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to instruct me to get some information, what I would do is turn around and send both of those, because we didn't have it for either group.
Right.
I'd send it both to them and see if there was anything they wanted.
Give them the same thing so that we can get a fair price from.
Christine?
Yeah, I was just gonna share that in past projects in Addison's Northwest, when they assigned a clerk of the works, they did just what you said. They built in a certain percentage into the overall contract, and then they hired the clerk of the works, once the vote or bond got approved.
Right.
So it was, like you said, they only need 439 hours to do their work
It's almost
versus 900, so I think we probably should let them do another quote to be fair.
I would put a motion out there that you we quote based on the
Just-
schedule.
instruct the superintendent to send out the recently acquired draft schedule of work to both bidders, or not bidders, but both proposal submitters, and ask if that at all changed.
Well, they specify the schedule in theirs already. I mean, do we really want to give them a chance to quote higher?
Is this VIS you're talking about? or-
PCI, they say from May 2022 through August 2023. Which, does that match this?
No, not
it
quite.
doesn't. Oh, it doesn't.
So,
Oh, December 2023.
Well, it should be longer than that.
no, it will be done in 15 months. So we're expecting that it will be done by November of 23.
Okay.
I think sending this out gives them both a fair shot to.
Yeah,
Well, just in reading VIS's proposal, you could tell their first blush at it was a complete overshot of what they were going to be asked to do.
Yeah.
So I think to be fair, to clarify where we're at in the project, for starters, the pre-construction is not even necessary.
No.
We don't need project management. What we need, we have a project manager, frankly.
Yeah.
EI is our project manager.
And they have both their project manager and their clerk, which are, and the overall
We don't need project management. Oversight.
owner's oversight, right?
That's right.
And I
So I think they just give them another shot at it.
Yeah.
And just see what happens.
So who would like to put that into a motion?
I'll make a motion to direct the superintendent to ask for a clarifying proposal from both consultants based upon the recently received project scope. Yeah.
Is there a second to the motion?
So I'll say,
Wow.
Competition for that second.
I'm gonna say Steve Gorzik got it. So it's been moved and seconded to authorize the superintendent to reach back out to Capital Project Consulting and to VIS Construction Consultants and ask them to requote based on the new or the draft construction schedule that we just received.
think the clarifying
So
proposal.
Dan, you clarify your word, his motion, it's gotta go.
Well, I was trying to remember what he said.
Yeah.
Clarifying proposal, I think, is a better term.
Okay. So,
And do we want to set a deadline in that motion?
we meet again May 26th, so it would be nice if we had it before then.
I can shoot for, I mean, today is the 12th, the 19th. If I say by the 20th, they've had less time than they got us these in less
Yes,
time
they're
than
quick.
7 or 8 days. It was tough, but they were able to meet that. So I think that given this, what they already know, both of them already know, I don't think that that's going to be enough burden. I would feel more comfortable by,
May 20th.
that's the Friday, because that allows me to get it into the packet for you.
okay.
So
So,
that's my own friendly amendment.
okay, so Linda, you'll have to read it back now. 'Cause-
I have motion to direct the superintendent to ask for clarifying proposals for both companies. I'm sorry, I missed mine.
Based on the
Based
EEI
on-
timeline.
Based on the construction timeline.
Yep.
Scheduled by May 20th.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, Jeff?
Are we seeking quotes or estimates? Quote is something that they're gonna live with no matter how many hours they do, or is this an estimate that they're thinking it's gonna take this long and it may go way over?
I like Steve's wording on the proposal because they both gave us proposals.
Okay.
They told us what the caveat be.
Right.
And the hour cost goes more than the hours that they built in. So I think that's okay. That just gives us an idea of how much we're contracting.
Yeah, and it, obviously, if it looks like the hours are going way over what they're estimating, we'll have to make some adjustment on the fly.
Right.
To either change the scope or look for some more dollars somewhere.
But we're just gonna have to be aware of that.
Yeah, this isn't a lump sum not to exceed. It's an estimate based upon an hourly rate.
But even the proposal is for an estimate, it's not for a quote. It's not for something that they're gonna be beholden.
Yeah, I didn't see a quote. Standard, actually.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Short-term financing. That's you again, Dana. Sorry.
Yes, so you should have, and I have extra copies if you need them, a proposal from National Bank of Middlebury and one from People's, which is M&T Bank. And they have outlined, anybody need an answer? They have outlined, what.
Do we have any more?
We do, we have two more. Does somebody need one?
Judd, do you need it,
I think I
or?
have it on my high-tech device here.
Okay, just in case.
So the M&T Bank one, that's one that I received earlier than the other. That's for a $2 million anticipated note, 2% interest rate. I think I reported on some of this information last time, it just come in. 4-month maturity rate, date of September 15th. And the 2% interest rate based on 30 divided by 360 days, you can pay it off in 10 months, it's 1/12% for the duration of that loan for is National Bank of Middlebury, and I just want to mention yesterday. Schedule, amount of the borrowing for the school district will be up to $2.5 million. National Bank of Middlebury submits the interest rate of 2.25 for the duration of the loan. And they said that would be for 1 year. And
Or the closing,
excuse me?
or the closing of financing.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Until it's done. Right. And then we pay it back. Right.
Until the municipal bond comes in.
So these are both fixed percentages, Dana?
Yes.
And what was, did we have a budget number for that in our construction budget? I mean, what's the, let's say it went to maturity, what's the total value of to them, of the loan?
40,000.
40,000?
All the way
If we
to
took
the
it
end of the
over.
year, but we won't, because the bond bank will provide funds by September 1st.
Right, so in a rosy scenario, how much is that maturity worth then?
That would be worth about $3,500.
Oh, okay, all right. So it's not a big item
No.
if things go according to Holman.
Right. You're talking about what? Did I put that in on top of my head? No, that would be. To my knowledge, it's not included in the $8.1 million bond. We would have to pay that probably out of the door. I will say that that was not an expense that I had considered when we were looking at that. But we did build in interest rate costs, so that might be covered. We have approximately $175,000 that we can use to absorb interest rate costs in year one of the finance. And I think that it would be below that. That was a large estimate, so additional interest rate costs for the short-term loan.
So if the bond comes in at a lower rate than we were, you're saying if the bond came in at a lower rate than we were,
No, we overestimated the cost. The bond rate we had, there's some wiggle room in there if the bond came in high.
yeah,
So we might.
that's where there's some
Yeah.
margin.
So,
Where are we on the bond, Dana? Is it?
All of that has all been submitted for approval. No, good question. Have to ask Shane. All of the applications have to be in by 9. They have to put them out for bid to decide who would be investing in those. Termination until, I think it's the end of June or the beginning of July, but please don't quote me on that. Because what they were saying is that would be the time at which those awards would be announced, but the funding still takes another month, so that would be, they were saying mid-August. So I believe we'll know sometime between late June and early July, mid-July, and then the money should be available a month thereafter. That's why I'm speaking with the director of the bond bank, Michael, I'm trying to blank on his last name. I said, if I said, funds would be available for us to draw on, starting said absolutely. And that's actually a conservative estimate.
But they've already given you some idea of what the bond percentage would be?
They did, I presented those to you back
Yes,
in February or March. And I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say that it was somewhere in the 2.15 range or something like that. But that may have changed given the current interest rate shifts.
It's not final until it's closed.
Until they close.
All right.
but you did present the numbers.
I did.
Yeah.
And we didn't get any updated numbers since I presented.
No.
But I also didn't ask.
So M&T is quarter of a point cheaper, so why not go with the cheapest?
Well, that would be a pretty simple answer. Wasn't sure if there was any other.
We have a relationship with both of these,
Okay.
by the way. So we're already, they are lending to us. We have a good relationship with both
All
banks.
right, yeah, okay.
The choice would be up to you.
So,
Well, I'd make a motion to go with the
M&T,
M&T.
yeah, so
So you're seconding it.
I'll second.
So the motion was made to go with the
Proposal.
To accept the
proposal,
proposal.
to accept the proposal from M&T Bank. It was seconded by Nick. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed. Okay.
That's still me.
It's still you. Keep going.
2.1, treatment of students, and policy 2.2, treatment of staff, both monitoring policies.
Yes, so you have both of them, you should have both of them in your packet. I'll just hit some highlights. The 2.1 treatment of students, I will read the constraint, executive limitation with respect to interactions with students or those applying to be students, the superintendent shall not cause or allow conditions, procedures, or decisions that are inequitable, unsafe, untimely, undignified, unnecessarily intrusive. We ensure here at the Career Center that all procedures, decisions are fair, equitable, safe, and timely, and dignified. Each year during professional development time at the start of the school year, everyone receives training on laws, statutes, policies, and procedures and changes relating to privacy, safety, dignity, etc. All staff, not just instructional staff, receive FERPA training, Family Education Right to Privacy Act, confidentiality, mandatory reporting. We have a whole slate of policies that we review. It sets the stage for all interactions with students, families, etc. Further, the superintendent shall not elicit information for which there is no clear necessity. Information about students collected by the Career Center when it doesn't go to colleges, it doesn't for anything. Any group that asks for that registry information, directory information, excuse me, is entitled to by federal law. Further, the superintendent shall not use methods of collecting, reviewing, transmitting, or storing student information fail to protect against improper access. All of student records are maintained using best practices and FERPA compliance. Hard copy records are stored in fireproof filing cabinets. Digital records are protected through password access. All staff receive FERPA training and confidentiality training. Security procedures are maintained by our IT director for digital records, and they're reviewed periodically for cyber safety. Our grading software has a portal, and all of those are password protected, and each individual family receives their own login information. Superintendent should not fail to operate facilities or programs with appropriate programs with appropriate accessibility and privacy. We're currently in compliance with all federal and state laws and guidelines pertaining to accessibility and privacy. We review our facilities and program accessibility regularly to ensure continued compliance. The capital project for which voted approved our funding in March will also include renovations that are ADA compliant. Superintendent should not fail to establish with students and their guardians clear understanding of what may be expected and what may not be expected from services. All of our services are outlined in the student handbook, along with policies relating to these services. Those policies and the handbook are on the website for all students attending the Career Center. Have access to friendly and meaningful academic support from our Learning Center team, both in our program classrooms and in the Learning Center lab. Our special needs staff strives to engage students in a relaxed, positive manner to foster programs. By collaborating with students, instructors, parents, and sending schools, the Learning Center team works to bolster students' confidence and enthusiasm for work. Further, we have kept students and families updated through regular communications related to health and safety, program changes and modifications. Communications have occurred in the school-wide level as well as other programs. Superintendent should not fail to inform students of this policy or to provide a way to be heard for persons who believe that they have not been provided reasonable interpretations. Currently, there is a non-discrimination statement contained within the student handbook, as well as several resources that are available for students to access. Policy 2.1 was included in the student handbook first in 2019-2020. I included within subsequent edition. That's for compliance with the policy.
If there is none, I'll take a motion to accept the monitoring policy 2.1 treatment of students.
So
Been moved. Is there a second? And seconded by Tiffany. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of accepting the monitoring policy 2.1 treatment of students, please say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion is passed. 2.2 treatment of teachers or staff. You guys aren't gonna have to be able to stop talking. I hope you
Yeah,
have
got
a
my
voice.
water going to me. Running out of air. Okay, so executive limitations, 2.2 staff teachers. With respect to the treatment of paid and volunteer teachers, laws will allow conditions that are unfair, undignified, disorganized, unclear, and violation of the master agreement. The superintendent and central office staff active in maintaining professional communications with all paid volunteer staff, including teachers. The superintendent, director of business management and finance, to the left, periodically review provisions within the collective bargaining agreement to ensure consistency of application and clarity of expectation. When necessary and appropriately reviewed with personnel and or association leadership. In fact, the administration has continued to hold regular meetings with the association leadership to review and address any concerns. Further, the superintendent shall not adopt administrative procedures that clarify rules for staff, provide for effective handling of grievances, and protect against wrongful conditions such as nepotism or closely preferential treatment. All employees are provided with a bargaining agreement, clearly outlines the grievance process and wrongful work conditions. Each professional staff member is shown how to access an electronic copy of the handbook that provides written administrative procedures and rules. All professional staff members are expected to handbook annually and sign acknowledgement that they have read and understood the contents. This handbook was provided in an online version 3 years ago, and this version serves as the main vehicle for outlining professional staff responsibilities. The central office provides an orientation for all new substitutes, volunteers, and staff, and all new teachers are assigned a mentor from the teaching staff to help with the transition to the new position. The administration and central office personnel strive to apply all processes and procedures equitably and treat staff in a respectful and responsible manner. To this end, the superintendent and the director of the Career Center have met with the association leadership in the course of the past year. Shall not intentionally violate terms of either school business management effective in establishing a process that have implications on the collective bargaining agreements for both groups. The The Director of School Business Management and Finance has implemented a number of new procedures that have been clearly communicated to staff through regular emails. The Director of Business Management and Finance updated the salary schedule for the Teachers Master Agreement in the fall, adopted by the Board and Teachers Association. The Board and ESP unit are currently in negotiations for establishing a successor agreement to the CBA that will end on June 30th, 2022. In the absence of a Director of Business Management and Finance, the Superintendent has provided financial support to both parties as they have collectively worked towards the staff negotiation providing the support. That have been intentionally violated during the course of this period. Interpretation of either master agreement by legal counsel is immediately consulted or proceed. Violate any state and or federal employment law or allow conditions to exist that would violate such laws, including but not limited to harassment, discrimination, or protected classes. At the time of this report, information that we have received from the state of Vermont and the Department of Labor indicate that we are in good standing to all employment law precludes any billing in the future. In fact, in January of 2020, the Career Center scheduled a voluntary employment audit with the Vermont Department of Labor, and since then, our central office consults regularly with them to ensure compliance with both state and federal requirements. They have complimented us on a proactive approach to making sure that we are following guidelines. Furthermore, PHCC is an equal opportunity employer, and all employees participate in anti-harassment and non-discrimination training each year. No violations of our anti-harassment and anti-discrimination policies have been found in the course of the past year. Superintendent shall not discriminate against, cause to be discriminated against any staff member for non-disruptive expression of dissent. The administrative team at the Career Center has striven to cultivate an environment that emphasizes cooperation, collaboration, and supports proactive engagement for expressing productive opinions and productive contributions. In fact, we've had several meetings throughout the course of the year to hear from our staff and to creatively problem solve. Superintendent should not fail to acquaint teachers and staff with the superintendent's protections. Policy 2.2 is included in the faculty staff handbook, and the superintendent is taking proactive measures to address conditions that provide for a safe, healthy, and respectful working environment, particularly as they related to our guidance provided by AOE and DOH over the past 2 years through March 14th, when most of that guidance was rescinded. When needed, the administration has issued both verbal and written updated guidelines for operating procedures. Superintendent shall not allow teachers, staff to be unprepared to deal with emergency situations. The Career Center continues to practice safety drills within guidelines issued by the Secretary of Education. The Executive Director of the Division of Fire Safety, July of 2020. That was for, instead of doing drills that required students to be in close proximity to one another in terms of hiding and things like that, they were all done as instructional practices, and we have continued that. We will start our first collaborative approach to our One Hide Fight protocol later in May. Many of our drills are coordinated with middle grade and high school. As we transition back to more real-time drill preparation, the admin team recently led the faculty and staff through a real-time One Hide Fight exercise. That was on May 4th, designed to help identify the most secure locations in the building, in their area, to be able to hide and practice barricading those spaces. We realized the importance of this at this point in time because many of our staff are new, and over the past 2 years, we have not been able to practice that. So this is a good opportunity for us to review those with everybody. We did a debrief on that day as well. The facilities director and director of school business and finance continue to apply for grants to upgrade safety and security materials and equipment. The safety team also continues to meet with first responders to ensure that our practices are up to date and aligned with their needs and expectations. So John Curler and Austin Wadu is here, applied for and received another VISBIT grant, and we have spent approximately $5,000, a little over $5,000 in upgrading safety equipment in a variety
Steve Orzek and then Christine.
So this is my first experience all with policy governance, or all policy governance. This says that this is an executive limitations policy, and it seems like it is a review of the year. Is that true?
Monitoring reports can happen on a variety of schedules. This happens to be an annual review report, yeah.
Okay, so this is, for lack of a better word, a summary of how this year went between the teachers and staff and executive?
It's not necessarily a summary of what happened so much between the groups, so much as what the superintendent and the operations team have done throughout the course of the year to try to address those constraints so that we are not in violation.
Okay.
It does summarize, but the intent is not a summary. It does summarize some of the things that we have, the proactive measures that we have taken. And in the absence of any violations, then I report compliance with the monitoring
Okay,
policy.
because I'm reading through here and the way this is being reported is like there were no conflicts at all between staff and administration, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. And I'm trying to find where that is. Or is that not is this not the appropriate place?
This is not, I don't think that this is the appropriate place
No.
Okay,
for reporting on conflicts. And, it depends on how you're going to define conflicts. But this is an accurate reporting
okay,
of what we've done to be able to demonstrate that we are in compliance with the intent of the policy. It's not an insurance that there won't be a misunderstanding or a disagreement. And if there are, then there are appropriate measures.
okay. I was just struck by number 4. Administration team, the Career Center has striven to cultivate an environment that emphasizes cooperation, collaboration.
Yep.
And supports proactive engagement, protecting productive and effective contributions.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've done that. Whether people participate fully in that is entirely up to them. We provide that opportunity.
Christina, you got your hand up?
I was wondering how often the safety team meets with first responders, is that?
Monthly.
It's monthly, okay.
We have first responders sitting on our safety team. In fact, Emily has been a stalwart. He is there almost every single meeting. We have had Chief Shaw come and attend a few, and then we've had some Vermont State Police that have attended periodically as well.
Great, thank you.
You're
That's a lot. I was expecting like once or twice a year, so.
Chief Hanley has been a wonderful supporter of our work, and he helps to keep us apprised of what the needs are in the community, changes, so that we can incorporate those into our safety plan. And he was instrumental in helping us to design the Run Hide Fight protocol that we currently have in place.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions for Dana? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept policy 2.2, the treatment of teachers and staff?
So moved.
Been moved, is there a second? Second by Tiffany to accept policy 2.2, treatment of teachers and staff. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'd like to abstain.
There's one abstention, Linda, and it was Steve Orzek. Motion passed. The next item is just we always do a board retreat during the summer. Sometimes it's in July, sometimes it's in August. I don't want to take a lot of time, but if people could shoot me an email and say, I'm gone the entire month of July, or I'm home the entire month of July, that would be better for me, things like that, and any specific topics you might like to discuss. And then we can, so in one of our June meetings, we can build that out so that we all know the date, where we'll be, and what we'll talk about.
So this is just a request for
Request for you guys.
schedules and
Yeah.
possible agenda topics.
Yeah. That's all that is. The next one, CLNA review. That is a Dana and Jay.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give Jay an opportunity to start this off. I will jump in and help, I just need to take it.
there or not?
Yeah, I mean, people have small versions, but they can't do it, so we can
No.
project it up.
Yeah, no, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't bring my magnifying glass.
We're prepared. Are we prepared?
Sure.
Sorry.
So this spreadsheet, we have a document for each program, each technical program and each pre-tech program. This only includes the technical programs because they were much more extensive in terms of size, scope, and quality that we were supposed to look at and answer questions related to. So as you can see on the left side, those are the questions that we were addressing, and then each program up along the top to give us a sense of where programs at in terms of, like, our first question is each program aligned to or in the process of aligning to the new AOE CTE program proficiencies. You'll notice that there's a variety of answers there, some yes, some no, some working towards. I think the biggest thing with this document, what it allows us to do is to look at, where are the places that we need to be improving. So, which programs are not aligned. Now, this first, the AOE finalized program proficiencies, some last summer, some have been finalized over this school year. So this question, in a way, is not, I don't want to say fair, but we have time in some programs to really align. So, but this is happening some over the summer and some through, so. And obviously question number 2 is what are we doing to move in that direction? So you get a little bit more sense of what our plans are for making sure that we are aligning with those proficiencies.
And the second question is just asking what will be necessary for them to come into alignment for the start of next year.
Sorry, that's what I did.
Sorry, you didn't get there. That's me jumping in. I'll stop.
So I don't know how in depth we want to go here. We're required in terms of our report to comprehensive local needs assessment. We need to, there were 7 questions that I believe we looked at last time. One of them is question number 3, to what extent is economy of the story? We were meeting with advisory from them, as well as from Herman. Are we doing what we need to do to prepare students to, to enter the industries or fields that our programs represent? It makes sense for me to just kind of keep going down through here.
Yeah, unless you want to go over and show them what the alignment is and some of the responses that people have had so that they can see how thoroughly our program instructors have provided information for us.
Sorry, it's going to be hard to see on here for some of them.
I think the overall view you're giving right now is.
It's good.
Okay. Yeah, because I would say, again, most of these for row 7 there, question number 3, we've established and agree that what we're doing is helping prepare students in some areas, sure. But that's why we're doing this, is so we can improve what we're doing and make sure that we're treating field needs.
And we've gotten some good program advisories on things that we can focus on to help improve that alignment.
Well, we don't have a computer science instructor per se, so that's a little bit more challenging to pull together. So
Yeah,
that's why
okay.
that one's not,
Yeah.
not completed yet.
So do we have programs
Yes,
offering
Yes.
when they are active?
they are required to meet every, twice a year, every year.
And some are more active than others. So those 2 meetings a year are happening, right? It hasn't necessarily been happening every year. The pandemic also impacted that. I don't know that any advisories happened in March or in spring of 2020.
I don't think they did.
When the pandemic hit. So that year, 1920, likely most programs only had 1 meeting. So
But prior to that, were they that active? I don't recall.
The requirement was for, 2, advisory meetings.
They weren't
each year.
happening.
We did send out reminders and we did try to track that. Most people were in compliance with that. I had to provide a report last year to AOE and found that I would say 90% of our programs met at least twice a year.
Good.
And do we have, I know what you're gonna tell me, but I'm gonna ask it. Do we have guidelines as to how these groups are selected, what their terms are, and who they are?
We do, we have a spreadsheet, I think I provided one earlier, that has the names of all of the program advisories, because for last year's report to AOE, we were required to submit that. So we had a spreadsheet that Glenn Schmidt helped us to develop, and we captured all of the email addresses and phone numbers as well as addresses.
But
for
do we have an application process for
We
people
have,
to be part of this? And how do people know how to, if they
So-
wanna help, how do they know how to get?
one of the things that we did was we provided all programs with a template that we had borrowed. Once again, I'll give Glenn Schmidt a lot of credit for synthesizing a document from the New Jersey Career and Technical Ed Department that helped to identify how that can be facilitated. So everybody has a template for reaching out, and they have guidelines. It also provides a focus on.
So if someone wanted to place on our web, says here how to apply for one of these committees?
Well, the focus is mostly on how to have program instructors reach out to various businesses and to send out a letter of interest. There wasn't anything, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but was for a general application for putting something online for people to find out if they were interested.
No.
So if they are in a particular field and they would like to offer something to the Career Center, they could certainly touch base with either leadership, or they can contact the program instructors directly.
But to Suzanne's point right now, it's kind of a by invite sort of situation.
Right, so you
yes.
kind of pick and choose who you want on your advisory committee.
Well, we're taking who we can get.
But what I'm
So,
saying is,
you know,
people
you're
don't
right.
know about it.
Yeah, if people don't know about it, then they don't have a way to join.
Right.
But part of the CLNA process is for us to reach out and make sure that more people are aware. That's one of the tasks that we have to undertake. And so we've been sending out surveys to a variety of groups that extend beyond the program advisors. In fact, we have to be able to demonstrate that there is a group beyond program advisories, and we're supposed to be able to explain. So that's an administrative role. And we are identifying our partners with the workforce plans and Madison County Development to help us get those surveys completed. And one of the questions on that survey is, have you served on a program advisory, or would you be interested in getting more information about program advisory? So that is part of our process with respect to the companies that we
But currently, we don't have people who are coming in, serving a certain term,
Right.
and then leaving, where other people are then replacing them. Because it's enough to maintain a group that's willing to meet and help us look at our programs and to figure out what we're doing well, what we can be improving, that type of thing. So, but the handbook that Dana mentioned, adapted from the New Jersey one, specifically talks about doing that.
Right.
So none of our programs are actually doing that right now.
The other thing was an outgrowth of having the CLNA process in the spring advisories is that some advisory members who are very active have indicated that they will reach out to other partners in the field and encourage them to attend. So I think that is a good byproduct of the work we're doing, where we get professionals in the field and others. Because as Jay said, our situation is such that we are taking advisory work. If we could get 6, we'd be lucky. So, you know, we're not in that same field where we have many employers or businesses that are available. And we're working on trying to develop that capacity.
What we're talking about now is actually a little further down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So does the program offer one or more post-secondary credentials or tier 2 IRCs? The IRC is industry recognized credential. So as you can see here, some do, you know, automotive does in terms of AITs, automotive service, stand for it. Anyway,
Excellent.
excellent, thank you, Dana, yes.
Everyone's
So a number of those that students can earn. So some programs don't have any, and those are things that we obviously need to be working on.
So for example, if we stop on construction technology, the one IRC that is applicable is the NCCER. We just haven't had the opportunity with Nick being a 1.5-year instructor. He is familiar with the curriculum, but he is not actually a certified instructor. And so he needs to be a certified instructor for the students to actually earn that credential. So we'll be working on that in the next year or two.
And like for design and illustration here, I mean, they have a portfolio process that students go through, but it's unfortunately not recognized by the state as a tier 2 or a post-secondary credential specifically. So students have things that they are able to use to, you know, to move into the field or to, you know, help them in going to school, those sorts of things, but don't fulfill something in this category necessarily.
So to build on what Jay has just said, the NCRC helps us as an institution meet our federal requirements in terms of industry recognized credentials, in terms of applicability within the general workforce. It does evaluation of individual programs. So although we can benefit as a center and meet targets for the Career Center as a whole, it doesn't necessarily help meet that target for any individual program. So that's why they need to have a dual enrollment credit or an IRC in order to meet that target for size, scope, and quality.
Is that an industrial design or
Engineering.
engineering and architecture, the one who has a way to go before they're
Yep.
like certified?
Well, as a CTE,
CTE
yes.
instruction.
Okay, but are they gonna help? I mean, is that going to help get national recognition kind of stuff? The programs that you're talking about. You said that person couldn't do it because they weren't certified in that program. Is that a
So
similar situation?
I'm talking about construction technology. Certificates require that the instructors, other programs can be offered by bringing in somebody from outside.
I see.
So for example, something called Game of Law, our instructor is not certified to provide that certificate, but he can bring somebody in from outside that actually does that. So it depends on the relationship and how that's working. Sometimes it's in our benefit to have the instructor certified so that they can provide. When we, as we're looking for our industrial design and fabrication, we are looking to see if that person can be certified as a certified production technician trainer, and then that person would be able to ensure that the students, as they go through the class, would be able to acquire that credential. So it depends on the type of credential that you're looking
Christina?
How do we compare with other tech centers in this regard? Like, are all the tech centers in the certain areas, or is it?
Well,
all-
actually, to answer your question in the same boat, yes.
Yeah.
There was just a change about a year ago with respect to IRCs. We used to report IRCs for any IRCs. A year ago, last May, I guess, they changed the structure and they created what's called Tier 1 and Tier 2 IRCs. Offerings, they are no longer, this report that if they have a Tier 1 IRC, it no longer can be counted. So that's why we're saying no. Not that they're not earning any IRCs, but for example, forklift training, which is very helpful and useful, is not eligible for us to meet targets for the state and federal legislation. So we have to offer IRCs, and so that has changed. And so that shift is trying to help all career centers identify and provide those opportunities. So for example, we offer Serve Safe Hand, our sustainable ag students do it, our culinary students do it. That is an IRC that we think is valuable and everybody should learn it. The state recognizes that, so does the federal government, but they won't let us count that towards our accountability measures. You have to have Serve Safe Manager, which is a different type and a higher level of training. So, can we be working towards that? Yes, but that requires a curriculum shift and it's far more intensive. And it also requires recognition in industry. A student who has done that and steps into a role in a culinary field would be recognized by getting higher quality compensation for that certificate. And sometimes that's the rub, because some of our advisory committee members have said, we don't care what kind of paper they have. We just want them to show up and work and we'll train them. So there's a bit of a difference in what is being required that we report and what our industry partners are deeming as valuable. And we need to bring that into harmony. But that will come with time as we become more on helping students acquire either dual enrollment credits or IRCs. Sorry, I took that. Got about 5 minutes, Jay.
And just a reminder, the National Career Readiness Certificate, that's the certificate students get if they score level 5 on all 3 work keys assessments. So we were looking at those scores last meeting, if you remember. So we can't have that as the only, it is considered to IRC, but that can't be the only one that a program has. So
For program, meeting program size will be qualified.
right. So for dual enrollment, we have programs that offer dual enrollment, 1 or more courses. Some that don't, some are in the process of. So students have that exposure. The next section is about so co-op work experience, or sorry, career work experience, co-op and apprenticeship. So you can see in some programs have co-op opportunities. Those are ones where normally the student is at a placement, a larger portion of the program. The career work experience tends to be a shorter stint, but they still get an opportunity to work in the setting in the field. Most programs option because that is more involved in terms of setting up. Human services is one of the few that we have. The state actually just got started last year.
Just to recognize anyway.
Right.
And then the other one is construction.
Right.
Construction tech.
Yeah, we have of them, and not every program requires one category. They just are looking for what type of work experience or learning experiences the students have.
CTSO is Career and Technical Student Organization. So you can see again, some of our programs have something. Skills USA for a number of our programs. AIT does have some that they're involved with, but again, they're not recognized by the state. National Art Honor Society is a CTSO. So, but it's a great opportunity for our students in terms of the work they do. The National Art Honor Society is extensive. So, you know, we military, those universities, or competing, participating in, again, you can obviously 0% if they don't have that opportunity. And let's see, I'm gonna just keep flowing through, oh, sorry.
Just picking culinary art
Oh,
opportunities with Necky. But when Necky folded, we lost the opportunity to make that connection. So we have to figure out how we can reestablish some of those connections, and that takes a little bit of time.
yeah, actually, I've been in conversation with Woody. I mean, we have some possibilities potentially for next year, if not definitely the year after, in that area. And then percentages of students that, after 6 months, one of our challenges here is we don't necessarily always hear from all of our, we can't necessarily contact all of our students, so we don't know, but based on responses that we get, these are the percentages of students that have either are in college 6 months later, are in the industry or military.
Right, and it's a little misleading because they asked us to provide figures on those three, but the ones that we don't have information on, it's not represented. So we're wondering, we've only captured what we have for information, and we're not creating categories. But the question that pops up in my mind is, should we, at least for our own internal operations, identify the third category that no information is available, and we haven't presented that.
And I will go back up here at the very top, sorry.
Can you simply infer that by the math?
Sorry, say that again, Steve?
Could you just infer that by the math? I mean, if you add.
34%.
Yeah.
Well, they might be doing nothing, and I think that that's what the question is actually getting at, whether they're just sitting at home on their couch. And so I think it's important for us to understand that there is, that may not tell the whole story. There may be some that are not, we didn't get a response.
Oh, no, but I mean, the figure could be no response from the remainder of the percentage.
If that's in fact the case, right? Or they might have sent something back and said they're not doing any of those three. In which case you have a 0% for those three areas, but they're not doing one of those three things. So we might have a response back, and then you have a category of no response. And that's not what's being asked. So we're just capturing that data.
We also, those percentages are based on the number of concentrators. So that's a student who has finished 1 year of a program. And these numbers are based on last year's concentrators. So that's where the percentages are coming from.
But they're the students who graduated last year.
Yes. And what they're doing, right.
Jay, I noticed in the industrial design and fabrication, about who goes to college military, it's 75% went to college and 75% went to industry, is that right?
Yeah.
They may be going to college and doing a job at the same time.
Okay.
That's how
So
you
like
do it.
a student may be attending VTC, the construction program at VTC, and they are also working for a construction company. Yep.
So it's not an aggregate of 100%?
No.
Right.
Yeah, that also.
Yep.
Use the-
Well, that goes back to the question, Steve, that I was sharing.
And then percentages of participation in career work experience, co-op, apprenticeship, CTSOs.
And I wanted to put a shout out to, who's done a very good job with helping to find those placement opportunities. In fact, this year, he's reached out to a number of programs that were underrepresented. And so now, these are reflecting last year's data, but I'm encouraged by what we're hearing, that our data for next year should be higher. So that's an area of strength for recruitment.
It was also not reflected into our job shadows. So we put numbers, like I'm looking at natural resource management. I know a number of our students have been out to various businesses in that field, but they didn't experience where they were there working with that company or something. So they've had exposure to the field. They've met people in the field, but those sorts of things don't show up here yet. Professional development that teachers have participated in. Let's see, and then questions about program technology, software, is it sufficient to meet student needs, and what upgrades or improvements are needed in the next 2 years? So again, this is a good way to make sure that, what are we doing, and we address that in our Perkins application, and hopefully some of the Perkins funding allows us to meet some of these needs. Then what we were talking about earlier, program advisory committee does have at least 5 members representing a diverse range of employers, aligned to attendance. And then, did they meet at least, again, these are based on last year's. So as you can see, most did. The majority of program advisory committee members attend each meeting. So you can see that's where this varies. So some are very strong, and others we have work to do to create advise them to they're stronger and able to help us support our programs better.
And sometimes people say that they're going to come, and for
Right.
some reason they aren't able to show.
Yeah, I don't know if people get busy or something.
Maybe.
They have other lives to, yeah. Let's see, and then they do help us, in some cases, during those advisory meetings, there are conversations around the program curriculum, the equipment, technology, and software, and student performance or outcomes. So I think curriculum has a lot more yeses in terms of that conversation during advisory, where student performance outcomes have more no's that tend to be less a part of the conversation. And I think that's it. So lots of information in one spreadsheet. So any other questions?
What we might want to say is that putting the spreadsheet together, I think, has been helpful for us because we can then track that from year to year, and we can see how we in terms of progress. It also allows for transparency and for us to share that data with our colleagues and our instructors. So
It would be nice to see the spreadsheet again next spring,
yes,
like a
absolutely.
comparison, like
Mm.
1 year to the next to see where we've made
Right.
gains and where we still need work to do.
Exactly. And although this wouldn't be required for us to submit, we can use it for ourselves because in 2 years we'll have to do it again.
Right,
So then we'll have the data to
right.
be able to.
Might as well
support
keep it up to date.
Absolutely. That's one thing.
Do you, is that a hand up? Nick?
Is there any way you see that we need to get involved in, or?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, this is data, right? But there's no action there.
If
Is
you
any
have-
action required from the board?
There's no action required for the board at this point in time, except to try to digest what you've heard. And if you have recommendations or thoughts, please let Suzanne know. We'll put it on a future agenda, and then we can set an action item. Because part of this is to inform our practice. And in addition to our staff, we have an internal team composed of Jay, myself, and Len. And then we have an external review team composed of representatives from CCV, representative from one of our partner schools, and a representative from Addison County Economic Development. They're looking at these, and they're also making some suggestions and recommendations. The purpose behind that is so that we can actually come up with the CLNA to respond to that component of our Perkins application. And we'll probably be bringing that back in June to give you an overview and say, here are some of the things that we think we do for next year.
That's actually great. That's kind of what was going through my mind was, you guys are sort of hitting on where you think things need to improve or what you think you might work on, but
Right.
having that in the spreadsheet, like as another tab, like, or whatever, here's the action plan. Here's under each of these topics, here's the things we've identified as needing to be done.
Right.
And those tracking things are things we can look at next year, like, did we actually get any of these done?
Right.
What's the progress?
So we could create for example, based on what you just said, and Jay can put a column all the way over to the right and say, proposed action.
Right.
And then we can report back to you. If you have some thoughts or ideas, please, we'll put that on the agenda, for our next meeting, and then
Might be a great retreat.
I think that is a good idea.
Nick, the only other thing I would add to that is, as Suzanne was talking about earlier, how do people find out about advisory committees and get involved with programs and things like that? So, I mean, if you're talking with people, we want you obviously to encourage them to reach out to us, and the more connections we can make, the more people that know that we have advisory committees, and that's a part of the CTE process in terms of, size, scope, and quality, I think the better. You know, I don't know how many people are familiar with that. That's part of our job too, is how do we communicate with the community about how they can help support the Career Center programs.
Might be a good newsletter.
Yeah,
That's just what I was gonna say.
yeah, okay, yeah.
The whole description of it in the newsletter, so people.
We can copy.
Anything else? So, do you need us to take a motion on this, or was this more that,
Just to accept our report, perhaps?
Okay.
I mean, if you believe that this is a genuine, honest, where we are at this moment in time, if you would just be willing to accept the skill and report that quality, that would be
move to accept the CLA report on size and scope, quality, on size and scope and
quality.
quality? I was looking for the last word.
Yeah.
I was looking for the last word. And then we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Motion is passed.
Thank you.
Okay, moving into the informational agenda, we are now 12 minutes behind, but that's okay. Code of ethics, if you have not signed it and returned it to the main office, please do so ASAP.
I think there were only three at the last time I checked with Patrice.
They were missing?
They were missing, and I think she had reached out to each person, so.
Okay.
I'm one of them. It's not because she hasn't reached out, it's because I'm terrible at doing it. She's done everything she can.
Judd, I could pick it up and drop it off Mondays or Wednesdays for you, you know?
At
You need it.
the end of the meeting, Judd, I could probably make a copy.
Maybe we can try to do that.
Yeah.
Ooh, I could probably try to do that.
That might be pushing you. I don't know if he could do it on his iPad. Board information, board schedule, I sent out another email and gave you guys some more dates. Our first board meeting would be June 9th. 15th. And then I think the next one would be the 23rd, if my math is correct.
Yep.
I also sent out that the end of the year in the morning.
Yes.
So, and then I also sent out that we were gonna meet this Saturday, and then I sent out an email saying that we weren't meeting this Saturday, so it wasn't that I was confused, it was that while I was online last night with VSBA, I had a phone call with Steve, and he asked that we cancel that. So,
Do you say why?
well, he said that the people that had applied have also applied at other jobs. So some have been selected for other jobs. So like was it him or Judy that said they had one candidate that applies for every job that they put out there?
Yeah.
So they did say that, interestingly enough, they had one person that applied just to be an interim. And I was like, did we put that out as an interim? And he's like, no, they just,
Do we want to continue to have this discussion?
I'm not mentioning any names.
Okay, I just want to be clear, we're not jumping over a fence here, that's all.
Yeah, I'm not, there's no names, so I think we're fine. But that's why he said cancel it. So the ad out for 3 more weeks. And so that would put us 3 weeks, what, the first week of June?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where we're at. I also sent out an email, thank goodness I took the day off. I sent out an email on committee updates and assignments. I did ask and put Jed and Steve as co-chairs for facilities.
I'm happy to continue on facilities in any way, shape, or form, but I'm wondering if somebody else would be interested in taking my place on budget and policy.
You don't want to be on budget policy.
Well, it's not a matter of what I do, or I just try to also find some evenings that,
You want evenings?
well, so if anybody is willing to take over budget and policy, I wouldn't mind picking up one committee but dropping another. Other than, if nobody can, then I'll continue on budget and policy. But
Okay.
if somebody is more well-versed in budget and policy than I am, that would be also
Okay.
probably helpful.
So what I did was based on, where people have been serving and what they seem to like, that's how I put the list out. That negotiation committee should be going, as my husband says, with one of his groups, dark for a couple of years because hopefully things will be settled. Missy asked to step back from the chair of facilities. That's why I put two of you in charge of it, and you guys can then work with
Duke it out.
administration on times of that committee meeting. Just like you, Judd, I would like to get off a committee, but hey, we do what we do. We are still down 2 members. So we need one more good person and one more person from Madison Northwest. So
Are most of the committee meetings on Zoom at this point? Like, and if not, is that a possibility?
The, what we're doing right now is, board meetings are in person, all subcommittee meetings, which for the ease of being able to have an in-person and remote option.
I'm sorry, you said board
We have-
meetings are not gonna be on Zoom anymore?
Well, based on the last decision that you made to have all board meetings in person,
Uh-huh.
we don't have a provision for an action item for continuing board meetings virtual. If you choose to change that, then we'll be happy to comply with that.
Okay.
But the subcommittee meetings, there was no indication of a change, so they have both an in-person presence, and we could all meet here, and there's also a link that people can join in. I think some of our board members have found the remote option for subcommittee meetings easier
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So we haven't stopped that.
I mean, I would, did we talk about not having Zoom board meetings? I must have forgotten. I don't know.
For some reason, I recall we were going to keep the hybrid.
Yeah,
that's what
I would
I,
encourage us to do that just because it encourages the public to come and.
Sure.
And if one of us gets COVID or some other illness, we could possibly still attend.
and that's what I thought. We had said we were all gonna be in person, but we were gonna leave I thought we were gonna leave the link in person, but we were gonna leave I thought we were gonna leave the link for public.
Okay.
But that
Yeah.
was my interpretation of things, which I've been known to be wrong.
We may have made a misunderstanding
That's
because the
okay.
last meeting the link was not a link from us, the link
Uh-huh.
was from the consultant.
I mean, I'm just,
Um,
in our district, where board members can attend board meetings by Zoom or in person. And then all the committee meetings are on Zoom.
And I believe ACSD is continuing the Zoom link at least through the end of the school year, and I don't think they've made a decision going past
And
that.
now it is hybrid, and I think we found that it increases public participation dramatically.
So do we need to do a motion to put hybrid back in?
I think that would help clarify.
So I move that we have a Zoom in-person hybrid school board official meetings, not changing anything about the subcommittees.
Well, let me ask about the subcommittees, because does the state regs require there be in person for the subcommittees as well as the?
No.
Any
any
warned
one
meeting
meeting
has to have a presence, must have a presence, so which means that we warn a committee meeting, everyone could be on Zoom, and Dana, Jay, the consultants could be sitting here, and you guys could be in your offices or on your roof or
Okay, all right, so
wherever you might find
we have
yourself.
to at least do hybrid.
Yes.
Okay.
But any warned meeting has to have an in-person person. Yeah. So how is the motion going now, please?
I move that we reinstate a hybrid system for our official board meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on it? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. So Judd, on the committee assignments, I can move you off of.
Will we
budget.
still have a quorum if I moved off of budget
Yes,
policy?
as long as,
Yes.
as long as your board chair can always make it. We'll have a quorum.
Well, let's leave me on it until it's maybe we find another member and it's more comfortable. If there's no wiggle room, that's, that puts a lot of burden on you too. So let's leave me on it until maybe somebody decides they.
Or we can maybe call each other and I can say,
Okay,
hey,
that's
I can't
fair
make
too.
it, can you make it?
Yeah.
Okay.
When does that committee meet? Typically?
Tuesdays at
Tuesday.
4:30.
Third Tuesday at 4:30.
Okay,
And we're missing Missy tonight, right?
Missy, is super swamped because the college is in their end of the year and getting ready to graduate. And all those kids were running around this afternoon. It must have been really warm out there because there were no shorts on. I'm like, wow, guys. Towels were flying. They were finding a river somewhere. So she's busy. She is still on the board, but she's just really swamped.
Well, the only reason I ask is because my participation in the facilities committee, I can't do it at the time that it's happening right now. I could do it at some other time.
And that's why she stepped back from chair because she can't.
Right, but I'm
Yeah,
wondering
exactly.
how do we go about changing the time? Do I have to come to a meeting?
Well, the meeting was
Change the
challenged, we changed it at the last one for that reason, Steve. We put it at 8:00 instead of 9:30. If there's another time that would work, then the committee can actually look at that and decide. The committee sets its own.
No, I know it does. It's just that in order for me to be in there and participate in the changing of the meeting, I have to attend the meeting. So,
Or
it's a little bit of a catch-22 at the moment.
Or send an email about what your availability would be, and then the group can take that up.
Yeah,
Or, I mean, there's 3 of you on the committee sitting here right now,
that's
right?
kind of why I was asking.
Yeah.
So the
If
3 of
Missy was here,
you,
we could have the
4 of
discussion
you
right now.
could say, oh, we're gonna change it to this time.
There are 4 of you. I have Judd, Steve, Nick, and Steve. I have 2 Steves.
Yeah.
Nick and
Yeah.
Judd.
Yeah, so if the 4 of you wanna have a quick conversation and change the time and date of the meeting, then let Dana know what you
We'll,
decided, and then it would have to be reborn.
Well, I mean, Dana, is there somebody, does anybody have an availability before 8:00?
I can do as early as 7. My kids get on the bus at 7 and then I have a quiet house and I could easily do 7:00.
Yeah. Wow. It used to be
Nick's like, I'm
7:30.
retired.
It used
Well, I
to be
mean, I got other
7:30.
stuff to do, but I know where I am at 7
It was
a.m.
7:30 before,
Well,
but in person. That was in person.
and how long do the meetings typically run?
It can be
1 hour.
an
max.
hour, usually, we shoot for an hour max, sometimes it's only a half hour. When we were working with EEI, and they were doing presentations, it was an hour.
Yeah, I mean, if a meeting goes from 7:30 to 8:30, that's okay.
Okay.
Say I'm gonna start at 8 and go at 9, it's problematic.
And the 9:30 is challenging because, like, for me, I would get to work and then I'd have to hopefully have enough connectivity, whatever job site I was on to.
Right.
So,
I just like burning the candle at the beginning.
Yep.
I burn
So-
a lot of it at the end and I prefer that.
7:30 sounds like a good.
Well, if you want to, we're currently scheduled to meet at 8 on the 26th, June, 25th, whatever that.
Yes.
Um,
23rd. 23rd.
Okay, and it was sometime. Are you asking to move that to the,
I propose if we could, move it to 7:30 on the 23rd.
works for me.
okay, so technically the way this should work is,
That's
because
all
this is not, is this on our agenda? Can we
No.
actually take action on this?
No.
What I would do is, maybe Jay, you can help me remember, I will send something out electronically. We can warn an electronic meeting and change the date, change the time.
You can,
So do it by email.
yeah,
Do we
you
want
can,
to check in with Missy first, just to see, just out of respect, because she put a lot of work in.
Would be the nice thing.
I will reach out to her and ask her for you. But yes, you are allowed to do an electronic meeting.
Yeah, just to
Decision time,
organize,
so
to
that-
organize.
yeah.
You can do, but you have to warn it. It has to be
Yes,
Right.
properly done.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that we do that.
Okay,
And so we'll change that to 7:30. Jay, help me remember.
facilities to 7:30.
Yeah.
Um,
I ask a clarifying, is that for just this meeting at this point? Just that one date that you were just mentioning?
Yes, so
It's
that
not changing every meeting at this point.
action would be taken at the next meeting
That's
to
right.
determine what should be going forward. But we have a meeting warned for 8 o'clock. If we want to change that, we need to do it just for that meeting.
That's what I was asking.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this was for facilities?
facilities.
Just
Hmm.
facilities.
For
I-
May 23rd.
Don't think I'm on facilities, I'm on
No, you're
budget
not.
and policy. So you said Steve, I was
No,
going.
I
You
put
must
you
have
on
talked about-
facilities.
But she put you on there, though. You're on the
Oh,
list.
I'm on the list?
You're on the list.
Oh,
You don't
oh.
You're retired too.
Budget policy.
Right, sorry, I did send that email out. All right, so there were lots of reports out. Does anybody have any, questions on any of them? There was also, we just received tonight the draft timeline that, was received at the Career Center today for construction schedule. So are there any questions on any of the reports? Because we are running late, sorry.
I just wanted to throw out there that I was able to attend the ART performance last week, and it was amazing. The students were like off the charts, so great. So it was fun to see.
Great, great.
And really great to see all the things we listed in your report, Dana, especially about the students. The tiny house on display and all those good things that are coming up.
And there's, in Randolph, at the tech center there, they were trying to get 2 tiny houses done before the end of the year, and they think they might, maybe get one of the 2
Yeah.
done. So I've been taking class with their instructor, like, he's been really struggling, and I told him, I'm like, well, this is how we're doing ours, and so I think
And
that's a
that's
little envious.
enough. That's a little, yeah, that's a little too ambitious. but-
Yeah.
Nick's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And we'll be starting another one soon.
Any other questions or comments or,
Right on your left, right there.
oh, sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to point out really quickly a couple of things. You can read it. I'm not going to say too much about it, but we hosted the Instructional Leadership Academy, the Career Center did. And I want to put out kudos to the culinary program for their fine performance in providing lunch. It was universally well received, and they got high compliments. And then I also put in my report the compliments that our students received from the visitors for their performance in the various programs. And it was, and we were the envy of the process, and they were glad that we finished on this note, and the facilitator instructor said that it was a credit to wrapping up all of the work that we were trying to do this year. But by seeing students engaged in high quality rigorous activities related to instruction
Great.
and expectations. We have lots of work to do, but
Yeah.
we got high praise for that work, and particularly for our students and the ability to be focused and respectful and polite. The other thing that I wanted to say is that I mentioned the Inclusive Education Project. We were up at Killington today. And once again, it was a great experience. The 4 members of the team, 4 out of 5 members were there. We presented our work, and we talked about the continuation of that next year. And we're looking to be able to continue that. The team voted when we were asked about continuing that work in inclusive education next year, and people are going to be working to help us fund that and continue that work on level 2. So we talked with the facilitator who from Vermont Superintendent's Association, who was responsible for setting that up. So that was great. And Suzanne and I are going through the joint leadership training. And,
Oh, yeah.
it's been informative. Let's just say that. Okay.
It's been interesting.
That's it.
Any other, Nick, is that
So, yeah, so on the 100,000 late grant,
Yes.
is that gonna entail a lot of training and,
Yep. So we're working in partnership with Collins.
Yeah.
And we are able to expand that beyond the Collins because originally our ask was for about half of that, and they expanded it. So it's going to be on training for both secondary students as well as adult ed students, and providing specific training for manufacturing and a couple of other high needs industries.
So
So
good.
we are still in the process of developing the curriculum and the target population, but we're looking to pilot it at first with adult ed because we can do that a little more quickly and easily, and then incorporating some of those components into into a variety of our programs, including auto and diesel, industrial design and fabrication, construction tech, and engineering.
So the pilot with adult ed would be for
Well,
this
well,
fall, or
if we can get the funding set up quickly enough, because there is, as I mentioned, an elaborate process that we have to go through.
yeah,
So it's as soon as the funding will be available, because we can't, as I put in there, we should not be expending dollars until we know the dollars are coming in to reimburse us.
Right.
If we do, then we run the risk of not getting reimbursed. So we need to make sure that everything, all the I's are dotted and T's crossed. But hopefully, we would be doing something in the fall.
okay, good.
For next year with adult ed. So we're excited about that, and we're excited about incorporating the same type of curricular components into the secondary programs, including, like I mentioned, those several areas.
Yeah,
It has to do
John.
with measurement, and it has to do with specifications, and it has to do with some skills such as soldering and welding.
Yep, those are all jobs they need at Goodrich.
There
Oh,
you go.
sorry,
That's
it's Racing on or Collins or. Keep changing
good.
his name.
Very good.
Any other questions? Oh, Christine?
Did you send the business office report and the adult tech ed report separately? Because
There was no business office report because I'm the business manager and I didn't have time to write it.
Okay, so there is no report on either of those.
No, adult ed was out ill, so I think that's why this report did not make it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I didn't miss it.
No, you didn't.
And I'm pretty sure that these are just kind of a standing
They
item
are.
here, so that,
Actually, for the business office, there were no reports, monitoring reports, so I had my other two reports right at the top of it. But I didn't have a special business office
Okay,
report.
well, maybe it's kind of misleading to have them on there if there's no reports.
What we could do is we could put no report,
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
helpful.
and I'll take responsibility for that. I did not indicate that.
okay. Policy 4.1 governing style. Who wants to take this one? Kim?
We're a little over on the time. Like a timekeeper in the future, happy to step up. Anyway, and we got a little off track on a couple of items, talking about subcommittee things that probably shouldn't have been talked about. Just minding the clock. Anyway, other than that, good.
Okay, thank you. So Steve Orzik, I don't know if you understand what we're doing, or Tiffany, when we do 4.1 governing style. So it's kind of a way for us to think about how the meeting went, how did we interact with each other? You know, were we attentive and had we read things? I mean, I had mentioned that there was one thing that came in that I didn't get to read. So it's just kind of just a reflection on how we have done as a board at the end of every meeting. Okay, so, and sometimes I pick and choose and sometimes people volunteer. Kim?
The other piece is, VSBA is gonna have a training on policy governance and under the carpet plan, and I highly recommend it, you know, if you can go in. I don't think it's very long. I just saw it briefly, their announcement, if you're on that list, go through the different trainings, but usually they're at like lunchtime. They're good, they're quick. You know, usually they're full of information, but to give you a reflective piece about, you know, something some of us know or are continuing to learn about policy governance.
And they have resources on the web you can read anytime you like.
They record all the.
This meeting coincides with a VSBA training
Right.
from 5 to 7. So now I have to go home and watch 2 hours of video.
Yeah.
So
I did my 2 hours on Monday.
These guys have been doing it 2 hours too.
My 3 hours last night.
Suzanne, have you considered, Manape does a little survey monkey at the end of each board meeting, with a list of standing questions the board answers.
So I've seen that on their agenda, but what I'm unclear on
Yeah,
is, do they each fill that in or just?
no, it's a group discussion.
Okay,
It's just kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down. It's a chance, what can we do to improve meetings, and people have a chance to kind of say something about it. And then it gets kind of recorded, so we can use it as a board monitoring evidence when we're doing our own monitoring about our own performance.
okay. I've seen it on your
Agenda,
agendas,
yeah.
and then I've always wondered, like, who's filling this out? And
Well, like Linda would fill it out. Our note taker, Chris Pearsall, fills it out based upon what she's hearing during the discussion.
Okay. All right, I will,
And we don't have to adopt it, I'm just,
yeah,
could consider
I'll
it.
look at it and I'll try to print out the questions so I can bring
Good idea.
it next time. Or we could do it at the retreat, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, may I have a motion to go into executive session for negotiations and personnel, please?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded, is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
do we
Any
need to invite
abstentions?
anybody?
Huh?
Do we need to invite anybody?
We're all set.
The presentation at 7:30, so I really need to leave at 7.
Okay, I think we should be pretty quick.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Is your presentation ready?
Yes, it's on managing conflict. Yes, and I often think about union negotiations when I am preparing this presentation.
We should have that.